Bienvenidos a este nuevo podcast de Empresarios con Propósito.
Bienvenidos a un episodio más de Empresarios con Propósito, el podcast en el que el empresario His Way at Work, Julio Bayona, y un servidor Armando del Bosque le damos la bienvenida a otros empresarios His Way at Work. En esta ocasión, la empresaria Mary Beth Sutkowski, dueña y directora general de Paragon Clinical en Chicago, en Estados Unidos. Bienvenida, Mary Beth. Welcome, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
Mary Beth, es un placer para nosotros tenerte el día de hoy. De verdad, muchísimas gracias. Creo que ha sido un mes de celebración espectacular. Hemos tenido unas entrevistas preciosas con empresarias, mujeres empresarias, que nos han dejado mil y muchas enseñanzas. De verdad, muchas gracias a ellas, a ti de nuevo por participar el día de hoy. Obviamente seguiremos trayendo más mujeres empresarias, pero pues queríamos hacer este reconocimiento en el Día de la Mujer y que todos los episodios de este mes pues fueran de mujeres empresarias y creo que lo logramos de verdad de una manera muy espectacular con las invitadas que tuvimos.
So what he's saying is that we are celebrating Women's Month and that we're very happy to be able to do it, interviewing women like you. And so far we've interviewed two fantastic women and now you. So we're very excited that we are able to continue throughout the month celebrating Women's International Day.
Great. Thank you.
Un placer tenerte aquí, Mary Beth. Cuéntanos un poquito, ¿quién es Mary Beth? Who's Mary Beth?
Me.
Tell us a little bit, ya no?
Tell us about you.
Tell us a
Okay.
little more about you.
So, absolutely. So I'm from the USA, Midwest. Spent most of my life all my life in the Midwest, from Michigan to Illinois. Grew up there and really found my husband there. Married for 28 years now. I also did all my training in Illinois, so education. So I was a nurse for many years, and then I became a physician. Kind of followed a call that I've had for several years. And have been practicing medicine now, medicine and nursing, I should say, for 38 years, which is quite a while. Actually, I'm realizing how old I'm getting. But recently became a business owner 9 years ago. And have really, just have to say, for my whole personal and professional years, have truly enjoyed every moment of it. I've been married now, as I said, for 28 years to my awesome husband, Bob, and am really the proud mother of some amazing young men, Danny and Jonathan.
All right, muchas gracias. Ahora cuéntanos un poquito, por favor, acerca de Paragon Clinical. ¿Qué hace tu compañía? Now tell us a little bit more about Paragon Clinical. What your company does?
So my company is a group of medical providers, nurse practitioners, and we go into long-term care facilities, so nursing homes, assisted living. We work with the elderly to provide medical care. So to provide for this kind of underserved population and provide daily visits for people that need care to prevent them from going back to the hospital and limit the progression really of their disease so they can carry on with their lives and have lives of dignity, actually, due to excellent medical care.
Muchísimas gracias. Ahora, yéndonos hacia el tema del día, cuéntanos un poco la historia, y para eso yo creo que tienes que decirnos un poco de la historia de la compañía, pero cuéntanos un poco cómo es que al mantener tus valores lograste llegar a tener la empresa que tienes hoy. Y lo pregunto porque vemos que muchos de los empresarios que hemos tenido aquí visitándonos, bien sea o es una familia que empezó alguien más, es una compañía que empezó alguien más en su familia, ellos se lo han retomado, o ellos a partir de cierta oportunidad de negocios la fueron construyendo, una idea, pero específicamente nosotros queremos saber cómo al poder uno mantener esos valores que te identifican es que se logra tomar una oportunidad de negocios, que es una historia espectacular la que nos vas a contar, para poder ser siempre fieles a esos valores que se tienen. So what I'm asking is, tell us a little bit more how the fact of you keeping your core values is what it allow you to be able to get to this business. how was that happen? How was the process that you got into getting this business through maintaining those values?
Yes. So we have 5 core values at Paragon, but one of them that I wanted to highlight here, which is how I really, truly believe I acquired the company, was through the core value of integrity. I joined the company as a staff physician, and the physician who owned it prior to myself did a good job in terms of the initial idea about what was needed, and that would be medical practice and long-term care. But it came to a point where there was one large customer who had 10 nursing homes, and they got to know that physician, but then also got to know myself as working directly with them, helping them solve their problems. I became someone to them that they could always rely on. And so they developed a lot of trust in me. And so when it came to the point where they learned that I was going to be potentially going to be taking over the company, it literally was a point in time where they said, if you are taking over the company, we would like to continue with the company. And if not, then we would be dropping away. And so what happened was they dropped away. And because of that shift, I was able to get the offer from the other owner to take over the company. And the day after I took over the company, this very group of 10 nursing homes came to me and said, we value you. We value your honesty and integrity. And because of that, we're going to, come back to you and stay with you. And so they were, I would say over the years now, they were a very significant part of us growing because they were such a 10 nursing homes. So they were a huge value to us as a customer. So I would say through this whole process, the way that I acquired the company wasn't based on my business acumen because I had no business history. I'm a physician. Wasn't based on my training. It was based on really this core value, this, I believe, God-given core value of integrity or honesty.
Los valores de la empresa que tienes actualmente se tenían en la empresa anterior. So the values that you have right now that you're talking about, were they the same in the previous company, the one that you acquired?
They were not. So these are core values that we initiated after I became owner. So I was practicing this one core value before we called it a core value of the company. So our core values now are compassion, integrity, clinical excellence, professionalism, and hope.
A mí me parece espectacular lo que nos cuentas, porque normalmente pensamos que para ser exitosos, entre comillas, en el mundo empresarial, o para ganar negocios, primero pues hay que tener una gran experiencia como empresarios, o tener la carrera, el MBA, o quién sabe que hay gente que se pone todas estas trabas en la cabeza, ¿no? El caso tuyo es distinto, el caso tuyo fue muy sencillo, la forma de hacer negocios es hacer las cosas correctamente y respetar mis valores, y eso es lo que me va a llevar adelante, y eso creo que pesa de muchísimo, tiene un gran valor. Lo otro es que muchas veces pensamos que la forma de competir en el mercado es a través de las formas típicas de yo tener el mejor precio o yo colocar, no sé, algún tipo de ventajas, digamos, más comerciales, ¿ok? Pero pocas veces basamos esa competitividad en el mercado en nuestros valores. Que nuestros valores sean los que nos diferencian y dan el valor a la compañía frente a la competencia. Creo que en ese sentido es muy importante lo que nos dices.
Es decir, la ventaja comparativa son los valores.
Claro.
No el precio o el producto.
Claro, es una forma distinta de hacer negocios. Y eso me parece espectacular lo que nos estás contando. Ahora, lo que me gustaría que nos explicara un poquito más para que la gente pueda entender, o los que nos escuchan puedan entender, es específicamente darnos un caso de lo que tú sí hacías, ceñido al valor de la integridad, creo que es el que nos estabas diciendo, valor de la integridad, versus lo que, para no hablar mal de tu ex socio, versus lo que puede suceder en tu industria de otra persona, otra compañía que no aplique el valor de la integridad. So what I'm saying is, give us an example of a case we don't want to speak, how you say, bad about your previous partner, but give us just a case of of integrity. How did you apply integrity in a different way that somebody else in your industry may not do it, so people can understand a little bit better how is that you were doing it, and what differentiates you from the other companies or from your partner?
Because what Julio is saying is that apparently your competitive advantage are the core values. I mean, you didn't
Yes.
have a degree in business. You didn't do your MBA. Like everybody says that in order to be a good business person, you have to have all
Right.
this experience before. No, you were coming from the non-business world, and all of a sudden, your competitive advantage is what everybody neglects, which is core values. And here you go, and you're telling us that that's your competitive advantage. So what Julio is now saying is, can you give us an example of how your competitive advantage in your industry is making a difference?
Yeah, I think trust is huge. I think that people don't want to partner with other people that they can't trust. And I think what I represented to this owner of nursing homes and this group of 10 nursing homes in particular was that I was there as a physician when they needed me. They would say that there was a patient sick. Their nursing homes were all up this tollway of 355 here in Illinois. So they went up all the way, an hour and a half up north. There were times that they said, we need help up north. We have a patient who's sick and our medical director isn't there or for whatever reason. And I would never say no. I would say, okay, and I would figure it out and I would jump in my car and I would go up there and I would help the patient and I would help them. So they came to know over that 1 year that I was somebody who was reliable, that could be counted on, and that provided excellent care for them and met their need when they needed it. So I think that whole dynamic allowed them to develop a really deep trust in me. So it's not so much about a fancy PowerPoint and all the business acumen and showing all the perfect numbers on a slide, but it's about rolling up your sleeves and putting your heart and soul into it and showing people that you will be there when they need you.
Yo creo que es un tema muy interesante y es un tema también hasta delicado cuando tú haces un statement de tus valores públicamente, porque realmente te van a medir y la gente está esperando que tú cumplas esos valores, ¿no? Y todo el tiempo te van a juzgar de si los cumples o no los cumples. Y eres un gran ejemplo de lo que estás diciendo, de si yo digo que mi valor es la integridad, o la confianza, ¿cómo dice? Sí, la confianza, en que pueden confiar en mí, como uno de mis valores principales, en lo que yo digo, basado en esa integridad, pues tengo que vivir a ese estándar cada minuto. Y no solamente yo, o sea, no solamente el empresario, sino que tienes que asegurarte que todas las personas de tu compañía, además, vivan a ese nivel de ese estándar. ¿Cómo has hecho para llevar esos valores más allá de Mary Beth e impregnarlos en los demás colaboradores de tu compañía? What I'm saying is, making a public statement of your company values is a big deal. And it is a big responsibility, because now you are screaming to the world that you base your business on integrity, for example. And people is going to start evaluating everything that you do in business based on those values, and to see if you are honestly, committed to practicing them or not in your business. But my question is, how you take those values beyond you? Because that means that not only you has to live those values, but every person in your company has to demonstrate and live those values. How do you get those values beyond you? How you have been able to communicate those, and how you've been able to make the people in your company to live those values as well?
Yes. So I have to answer his way of work. They have been instrumental from the very beginning. From the very beginning, we started with, we had a person from His Way at Work come out, and we had a seminar where we had all of our leaders, managers together in a room. And I still remember the day that we actually chose our core values. And then after we did that, His Way at Work leadership helped us through, okay, now how do we integrate this into our company to make sure that everybody we hire, that the people we train, exemplify, and how do we do that? So the way we did that is we took those core values that I told you about, and we integrated those. We came up with those types of interview questions for people we interview for the position. So give us an example of when you were exhibited integrity. How do you feel about integrity and honesty, for example? So then that has been very helpful in bringing in the type of people that have our core values. But then once they're with us, then we evaluate people on their core values. So all of our evaluations that we give employees are all focused around the core values. So I think those are pretty, specific ways that we can assure that our core values are being implemented. We also reward the core values. So if they've exhibited certain core values at our meetings we have every other month, we give out gift cards to people who have exhibited our 5 core values. So very similar to raising a family.
Yo quiero hacerte una pregunta que a mí me toca muy particularmente, y es que yo estaba muy orgulloso de un modelo de entrevista que yo creé, y yo dije, yo voy a entrevistar a todas las personas que entren en la compañía. No sé hasta cuándo lo voy a hacer, hasta qué tamaño lleguemos, pero por lo que yo pueda, hasta donde yo pueda, y quiero entrevistar a cada una de las personas que entren en la compañía. Y normalmente en nuestra compañía, Enrique y yo, la última entrevista que cada persona tiene, no importa para qué puesto vaya, pasan por una entrevista conmigo. Y esa entrevista yo le llamo una entrevista de valores. Entonces, es un modelo, después les contaré, pero es un modelo muy interesante que a mí me hacía sentir muy orgulloso. Porque yo decía, con esto, yo filtro que no entren personas que no compartamos los mismos valores. Pero al final, lo que creemos nosotros como empresarios en His Way at Work es que no importa las creencias, no importa de qué religión sea, no importa qué, pero en la parte, o sea, no importa las creencias, todos podemos trabajar juntos, pero en la parte de valores sí tiene que haber un common ground, sí tiene que haber un ¿cómo se dice? Así, un common ground, que nos entendamos en términos de valores. Pero les voy a ser honesto, llegó un cierto punto en el camino donde empecé a ver que se me habían filtrado personas que me sentí que me mintieron. O sea, sentí que que esta entrevista que yo estaba muy orgulloso que yo había creado para filtrar las personas a través de valores no estaba funcionando. Porque después, cuando las personas entraban, nos dábamos cuenta que ellos reflejaban valores muy distintos a los que durante la entrevista ellos aseguraron que sí cumplían y que sí vivían en sus vidas, y nos dieron ejemplos y todo este caso muy parecido a lo que estás diciendo. Eso fue bastante fuerte, porque bueno, si esto no funciona, ¿cómo hacemos? ¿Cómo hacemos para filtrar? ¿Cuál ha sido tu experiencia y cómo estás haciendo tú para poder evitar que eso suceda y para poder filtrar las personas con respecto al tema de valores? I'm going to try to say this in English. What I'm saying is, what you just said, it touched me specifically in this moment, because something that I was really proud of, it was that I created a kind of interview based on values. And I said, everybody that comes to the company, doesn't matter what position you are hiring for, I want them to interview with me. That's going to be the last process of the hiring, the last step on the hiring process. And I will apply this value test, right? Value test. And I will going to be able to know if this person shares or not the same values as our company, to see if he's a good fit. I was very proud of it, until I started seeing that the people, some of the people, I'm not going to say everybody, but some of the people that we were hiring, they did really good on that interview. And for me, it was a match. So yeah, well, that was good. But when they started working, they started reflecting opposite behaviors than the ones that we were expecting against those values. What has been your experience in that matter, and how can you protect the company of getting people that doesn't share your values?
That's such an awesome question. Excellent. So we've learned over the years. I think we initially started with 1 to 2 interviewers, and people did get in that maybe weren't completely on board and exemplifying our core values. So we've learned. And so through the years, we've improved our interviewing process. So now we have several people interview the candidate. So we get multiple different perspectives. We've also refined the types of questions we ask so we can really hone in and really make those questions reflect our core values more accurately. And then there are times that we do hire people, and with time we realize they don't or even can't really be on board with all of our core values. And there are times, not often, but there are times when we have to terminate people because they aren't in line with our core values. And those are very difficult times, but we hold our mission and our purpose and our core values as gold standard. So we try to treat every person, even a person we may fire, with dignity. So it's not about not preserving the dignity of each person, but it's keeping those core values and our mission as forefront, that we cannot and we will not compromise those.
So, quick question. You have had then cases where you hire people with your methodology of core values and still get people filtered in that were not a fit because of core values, like Julio was telling us, correct?
Yes.
Let me say it in Spanish. Entonces,
Okay.
si has experimentado en tu empresa, como nos comentaba también Julio, la contratación por valores, y que aún así se te filtran algunas personas que no son un fit para tu empresa. ¿Correcto? Correct? Now you can
Yes.
give us. ¿Y cómo han ido aprendiendo en el tiempo a ser mejores en ese proceso? How have you learned over time to be better in that process?
I think improving our interviewing skills and looking more critically at people. For example, we used to have just 1 or 2 people interviewing, and now we have several people. We used to just spend a couple of hours talking to someone, and now we have them come in and spend an entire day with us, so we can watch everything they're doing. It's not always the specific thing that you bring them in to watch, but it's actually seeing how they respond to other, unplanned scenarios. How did they, for example, we have them come into the nursing home and spend a whole day, we call it a shadow day, where they shadow one of our other nurse practitioners. So we're in the nursing home for an entire day, seeing patients, talking to doctors, talking to staff. So it's not always what the nurse practitioners watch in terms of, how well do they do that clinical piece that they've been trained in. Most of them can do the clinical part. Most of them can do the training that they received. It's not usually a problem with that, but it's how did they treat, the nurse's aide that came up to them and had a question. How do they treat the janitor in the hallway? It's these things that they didn't get formally educated on, but it's who they are. It's their character. Sometimes those are the things we look at, and we may say, it's not going to work, for example, or somebody may have been hired for a period of time, and then we start seeing a pattern of behavior or attitude. I would say attitude is a big thing, and that we kind of come to a decision that it's just, it's not going to work. Fortunately, it doesn't happen too often, but it does happen.
Ahora, algo que tú decías que también es importante resaltar es que cuando uno se dé cuenta que las personas no son un buen fit, tomar la decisión rápidamente y pues terminar esa relación, manteniendo la dignidad de la persona, pero terminar la relación prontamente. Entonces estuve en una visita, tuvimos la oportunidad de estar visitando aquí el corporativo de Chick-fil-A en Atlanta, y estaba yo hablando con una persona de recursos humanos allí, me dijo, el mejor consejo que yo le puedo dar es, y lo decía en inglés, pero en español es, sea muy lento para contratar y muy rápido para despedir. Y me pareció un excelente consejo. Obviamente, complementando lo que tú decías ahora, debe mantener siempre la dignidad en ese proceso de terminación de un colaborador.
So basically, what he's saying is that they have experienced, and he was in Chick-fil-A recently, corporate offices, and one piece of advice that he got was be slow to hire and quick to
Fire.
let go
To fire.
or fire.
That's what she said.
And so,
Right.
how do we, or how do you come up with letting go people that are not a fit once you find out that they're not?
Yeah, so we do have an evaluation process, especially for the newer people, that they're evaluated more frequently and, very soon after they start, that we can keep a close eye on things. I think a lot of aggressive, I would say, mentoring, because each person is assigned a manager, and that manager is assigned to really follow that person and track that person. And we check in often with our customers to see how they're doing. So in terms of, it's difficult when you get to the point that you have to let someone go. We try to give them every possible chance. But if we see that the pattern of behavior isn't changing, and they're not open to change, and they're getting resistant, and we see these, I like to use, unfortunately, the word arrogant comes up, because that kind of an attitude is poisonous. So I think, as long as we see humility in the person and they're open to learning and change, those people can almost always be saved and improved upon, and we can keep them. But the people that are prideful and arrogant and are not open to us, trying to promote our core values with them and educate them and mentor them in these areas, that's usually where we can kind of see that there's really not a good end in sight, that we have to actually ultimately let them go. So that's what we do. But we always end with them understanding that we want to preserve their dignity, that it doesn't mean, because we let them go, that they're a bad person. It means that in this particular area of work, they're not necessarily inclined to it. And so we do feel that when we let someone go, we're actually helping them, because we see the attitude and behavior. I think it's a sign that they're just not in their area of work that really best suits them. So we're actually helping them by suggesting that they move on and look for a different area.
Para nosotros es común hablar del tema de despedir con dignidad. Es algo que se habla mucho en His Web Work, dentro de nuestro círculo, las personas, empresarios His Web Work. Es un tema común, pero quizás no es un término muy claro para muchas personas. Me gustaría que habláramos un poquito acerca de qué significa eso, qué significa hacer un despido con dignidad dentro de lo que tratamos de hacer en el programa His Web Work en nuestras compañías. ¿Nos puedes dar un poquito de un poco más de claridad en el tema? ¿Cómo es que tú llegas a despedir a alguien con dignidad, más allá de lo que nos acabas de contar, de tratarla bien y hacerle entender el por qué no es un buen fit para la compañía? Pero hay algo más que acompaña esa conversación. Is there it's very common for us as a His Web Work business owners to talk about letting go with dignity, or treating with dignity the people that we're firing at the moment. But it may not be a concept that is very well known by everybody as a business owners, right? So we would like to have more clarity and explain a little bit better to the people that is listening to us what that means. And what that means beyond what you already explained, because we know that, okay, it's a matter of telling them they may not be a good fit, this may not be something good for them, this may not be his area, but it's something else beyond that, in which we can explain to the rest of the people that is listening to us what does it mean let go, how to let go of people with dignity.
Yeah, I think it's all in the way that you do that. And I think there is a way. And I've personally had to have conversations with people to let them go. And I think the way is just I think of how God cares for his people with love. And so I think just communicating that who they are and their dignity and value is not about their role at our particular company. It's much bigger than that. And so I think when we've had success, it's when we've been able to communicate that type of message. And I have examples of people that have been let go from our company. And for example, one of my leaders in the company still maintains a great relationship with this person and friendship. And so I think it's helping the employees understand that this is one small piece of their life and it doesn't define them as a person. And that oftentimes when we followed up with people, they've ended up really at a better place for them. So it's not always at the immediate time that they can see it, but with time they realize it. But I think in terms of how do we do it and make it work for the employee is in the care that we show when we're discussing this and relating to them in this way, I guess.
O sea, hermano, si de pronto tú nos puedes compartir alguna experiencia de alguna otra compañía, His Way Work, de cómo lo hacen, cómo le ayudan a la persona a salir de una manera digna de las compañías.
Sí, una respuesta rápida es poniéndole un coach para ayudarle a buscar trabajo. Pero a mí me gustaría presionar un poquito más a Mary Beth en lo que tú estás haciendo. Mary Beth, en particular, danos ejemplos específicos de cómo has hecho algún despido y qué pasos has seguido que sientes tú que dan dignidad al proceso. So, can you be more specific still and give us ideas of what specific steps you've taken to let, for instance, that person that you talked about that you are still in touch with, how did you tell that person, what did you do over and above the regular letting go process?
So I think the whole process when we started to notice that there was a problem was, I think, probably frequent communication and giving them a lot of feedback. So even before the day that came when we had to terminate somebody, I think it was the care that we showed all the way along, so that it wasn't like they had no understanding and then all of a sudden they got a letter saying you're terminated. I think we were with them as a caring partner with them all along the way, so that we pointed out what their deficiencies were. We offered them mentoring in a particular area. We followed up with them frequently. And then when it got to the point that we saw that it wasn't going to work, we communicated that, I guess, with the same consistent care, so that when we actually had to terminate them, they felt and still felt, even when they were gone, left our company, that they were still cared about. I might sound like I'm communicating the same message over and over, but it really is as simple as being able to authentically communicate care for a person when the circumstance doesn't meet your needs or their needs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we were trying to come up with some example because we know, like in His Way Work, some companies, if they're gonna let somebody go, they put a coach so they can help them to put together a new curriculum, or they help them to find a new job. They give them some allowance, some money to live on. In the meantime, they get a new job. So more a specific benefit program that your company has.
Oh, I see.
To let people
Yeah.
go. That was Armando and me. We were trying to get you there.
I
Respond.
understand. Yeah. Well, to be honest, I mean, that is not something that we necessarily need to do in our particular area, because right now, actually for the past 9 years, in the Chicagoland area for nurse practitioners, they do not have a problem finding another job. So they don't necessarily need our concrete help in helping them get into another area. It's more or less they're going to continue as nurse practitioners what they were trained to do, but it's more or less this is not the area of healthcare that they're thriving in, so they can fairly easily get a job in a different area.
Well, that's more situation related to your specific industry. But I would like Armando
Yes.
to tell us a little bit more of how his work companies does it, because it may be other industry in which is a little bit more difficult for the employees to find a new job. Can you tell us a little bit more of some experiences that you have heard from other business owners? Algunos otros, sabemos que en el área específico de lo que nos dices de tu industria, puede que no sea muy necesario, pero no todas las industrias son iguales y en algunas industrias puede que les cueste más trabajo a los empleados, a los colaboradores encontrar un nuevo empleo. No sé si, Armando, nos puedes contar un poquito acerca de experiencias que has escuchado de otros empresarios, de cómo ellos apoyan a las personas a encontrar su siguiente oportunidad.
Bueno, justo ahorita estamos hablando con una empresa que está dejando ir a un ejecutivo clave. Bueno, 2 empresas que están dejando ir ejecutivos clave. Y el común denominador que hemos visto en las empresas que lo hacen bien es, como nos dice Mary Beth Sutkowski, hacerlo con cariño. No es nada más, aquí está tu paquete de compensación, ya te estoy dando mucho dinero, ya tienes que estar contento, ¿no? El dinero se les va a acabar. Pero la dignidad, como nos dice Mary Beth Sutkowski, si la herimos, si maltratamos su autoestima, eso les acaba saliendo más caro, porque entonces van con inseguridades a buscar otro trabajo. Sí, como dice Mary Beth, nosotros le dimos amplias oportunidades, le dimos mucho seguimiento. No va a ser una sorpresa cuando le empecemos a decir no hay fit. Y entonces podemos hacer una salida suave, como les decimos. Y muchos empresarios se asustan al principio de decir una salida suave, eso no funciona. Pero la verdad de las cosas es que sí funciona si lo hacemos con todos estos pasos. Y si les ponemos un coach para ayudarles a conseguir trabajo, para ayudarles a armar su currículum, incluso para ayudarles a hacer entrevistas. Si estás en una industria como la de Mary Beth, que hay mucho trabajo, pues qué bien. Si estás en una industria en donde no hay trabajo, pues qué mal.
Pero específicamente esas formas que tú has visto que los empresarios usan, las estás mencionando. Cuéntanos un poquito más específicamente esos beneficios que ellos hacen.
Sí, ponerles puntual. No despedir por sorpresa. Dar un tiempo. En vez de decir tienes 2 días para irte, tienes 3 meses para irte, o 2 meses, o 1 mes para irte. Hacer un plan de salida. En ese mes, o 2 meses, o 3 meses, qué vas a hacer o qué vamos a hacer para ayudarte a conseguir trabajo. Para ayudarte a definir, muchas veces sucede qué quieres hacer. A veces más que conseguir trabajo es qué quieres hacer de tu vida. Y no tienen ni idea, porque en este mundo tan apresurado que vivimos, nunca se han detenido a pensar qué quiero hacer de mi vida. Y lo más importante es hacerlo suavemente, hacerlo con cariño, darles las oportunidades. Lo típico es un coach que les ayuda a hacer su currículum, un coach que les ayuda con las entrevistas, un coach que les ayuda nuevamente lo más importante, a buscar qué quieren hacer y luego buscar trabajo. Pero ponerles un tiempo, y si después de ese tiempo, si antes de ese tiempo consiguen un trabajo, qué bien. Si no, pues bueno, ya estaban avisados y ya salen preparados. Muchas veces otra vez darles un severance package que dices tú, te vamos a dar 2 meses más aquí. En esos 2 meses tu trabajo es buscar trabajo. Ya ni siquiera es trabajar, que es buscar trabajo. Vienes a la oficina, pero estás buscando trabajo desde aquí. Y en el proceso también sucede que se contrata a la persona que le sustituye y es una transición suave, que también es muy importante para la empresa.
Yo creo que el tema del tiempo es importante. Muchas veces lo hacemos en la compañía, buscamos asegurarnos que tenga el espacio para buscar el trabajo. Sí, es decirles, mire, en el momento que usted tenga que salir a una entrevista, déjenos, no hay problema. Tiene el permiso, lo puede hacer, porque al final es buscar eso, ¿no? Que la persona pueda encontrar la oportunidad correcta para su vida en lo que sigue.
Y no está peleado con lo que decías hace rato de Chick-fil-A, ser lento para contratar y rápido para despedir. No significa que despidas rápido, que se tenga que ir mañana. Es tomar la decisión. Y el proceso de salida es el que puede tardar 1, 2, 3 meses. Pero tomar la decisión conjunta y que sepa ya el empleado es muy importante hacerlo pronto, como nos dijiste ahora.
Y no hay una regla, no es que tenga que ser 1, 2 o 3 meses. Cada situación, cada compañía está pasando por una situación difícil y también debe proteger también, obviamente, los intereses de la empresa, pero en la medida de lo posible llegar a unos acuerdos con este colaborador para que sea una salida negociada y el colaborador se sienta bien y apoyado en este proceso, pensaría yo.
Ahora tengo una pregunta para ti, Mary Beth Sutkowski, otra vez. Tú nos dices que en la industria en la que estás hay mucha demanda de enfermeros o enfermeras y que por lo tanto, pues cuando alguien sale no es difícil que encuentre trabajo. Pero si hay mucha demanda de enfermeros o enfermeras, ¿qué sucede con la rotación? Es decir, tú tienes menos rotación de la industria porque la gente que está en tu empresa se quiere quedar por la cultura empresarial, porque como dices, se podría ir fácilmente porque hay mucha oferta de trabajo. So the question is, in the industry you're in, there's a lot of demand for nurse practitioners. And you have nurse practitioners. If there's a lot of demand, they could easily be leaving the company. So are they staying more in your company than on average? And if so, why? That would be, how are you dealing with that?
Yes, that is a question that's very relevant right now, especially with COVID and post-COVID. A lot of nurse practitioners and other healthcare providers have left the industry, specifically in nursing homes, because they don't want to be exposed to COVID, and all the dying patients have been very traumatic for a lot of providers. We lost providers because of this. So when we have come full circle now and coming out of COVID, we have been realizing that it's a challenge because now a lot of providers have left the field or gone to different areas. And so our competition is now upping salaries and upping benefits in order to attract these people. Something that we noticed recently within the past couple of months, we have rehired back at least 3 to 5 to start of our nurse practitioners. And I can tell you that every single one of them, although they might have been offered a few extra $1,000 by another competitor, they said that they want to come back because they feel cared about at our company. And so very recently, my husband and I have been talking about how important it is. It's so obvious how important it is to care about your employees. And we've just recently, I had an employee say, I don't care if they're paying me 125 or 130,000. I'm coming back to you because you care. And that's literally a quote. So to answer your question, what we do different because of his way of work is that we care. I also wanted to give a brief example on this topic. We had a boat trip out on Lake Michigan in Chicago. We took all of our employees and their spouses out on a boat trip back in September. And toward the end of the evening, one of our nurse practitioners who is married to a police officer, he said, Dr. Sutkowski, you have to come over here. So I said, okay. So I went over there and he said, I need to tell you something really important. And I said, what? And he said, you don't understand. Other companies don't do this. They don't care like you care here. And he said, I was in the police force for 35 years and I've never had an experience that my employer cared about me the way that you do. This is phenomenal. This is unheard of, he said. And so I think those kind of examples and people coming back, despite maybe the slightly lower dollar amount that we're paying them, they're coming back because we care. And I do attribute this all to his way at work and what we've learned, and ultimately to God.
Espectacular, espectacular. Moviéndonos ahorita en otra dirección. Nos queda claro, tienes His Way at Work en tu compañía, estás viviendo un proceso súper espectacular con el tema de His Way at Work y queda muy claro que tienes a Dios en ti y en tu compañía, lo has acogido, pero normalmente llegar a este punto no es fácil y hay que pasar por muchas cosas para llegar aquí. ¿Cómo ha sido tu proceso? Y cuéntanos qué fue, si ha habido algo en tu proceso que te llevó a este punto, alguna vivencia, algo que te acercó más a Dios y que te ayudó a pensar en que era importante tener a Dios o abrirle las puertas a Dios de tu compañía. So what I'm saying is, we know for sure now by what you have told us that you have God in your heart and you have God in your company, but usually that doesn't come for free. Usually you get there through a process or because something happened in your life, or there was something that changed you, either personally or in business, that it make you to make that decision of opening your heart to God. Some people call it a conversion, some people different names. But what was that thing in your history, either your own personal or your business, that makes you think and make you make the decision of, you know what, I gotta submit to God, I gotta put God in my heart, I gotta put God in the middle of the business?
So I think in answer to that, I have to give full credit to God. It is not something that I humanly decided to do at any one point in time. I've always had a very deep relationship with God from the time I was 7 years old. Actually, I was thinking at my first communion is when I really knew literally that God was with me. It was even in the song that I remember singing on my first communion. I still remember the time that I was sitting outside on a playground with a group of kids, and we were singing, we were making our first communion, and I am with the Lord. I mean, it comes to my mind, but that has rung true and been consistent through my whole, personal and professional life to this point in time. And that is that God has been with me, and he doesn't speak in tornadoes and hurricanes. He's sometimes more silent and subtle. And I think in those ways, he brings people into your life and situations, and all you have to do is be docile and open to hearing it. So for us, I didn't plan this at all. The company came to me almost on a silver platter, simultaneously with meeting Armando on a silver platter, meeting his way at work. And it almost was within days, honestly, that we acquired the company. And my husband, Bob, went to a gathering in the Chicago area. Armando was there. And my husband, Bob, comes home, hey, right around the time we acquired the company, I just met, Armando, and they have this group his way at work. And you know what I did initially? Because I'm human. I looked at it and I said, yeah, that's fine. And I was just busy. I put it on the kitchen counter, let it go. And that was it. And then I met with my spiritual director short time later, and out of the blue, literally, he said his way at work. And I said, okay, two different people that I value their opinions are coming to me with these things. So we pulled it back out again. But it was as simple as that's how God works. He works subtly sometimes, and he puts people in your life. You just have to be open to it. So we investigated, we went forward with that. And that's literally how it happened. I would say in terms of conversion of heart, at the same time, God put in my heart, not me, God put in my heart a desire to, not a desire, I noticed there was a gap, I guess I would call it that God put in my heart to notice that in the workplace, God wasn't there. And I remember driving down the tollway, going to work, coming from work. And I remember looking up at buildings with all the lights on, looking up at hospitals with all the lights on. And I was thinking, all of these people are still at work, and they're still in the hospital, and they're still working. That's a lot of time that people are spending in this place. And what if they don't get God from their church? Or what if they don't have a school that their children go to? Like, how are they going to get God? And I knew that it wasn't in the workplace. And so all I can say is my conversion here came from asking that question and filling that gap of who's going to care for all these people at work. It was as simple as that.
Precioso,
Wow.
espectacular lo que dices. Pero espérate un momentico. Quien está hablando es una doctora, ¿cierto? O sea, tú eres una doctora. Y hay muchas personas que creen que la ciencia y la religión y Dios están peleados, ¿verdad? Que no es forma de que sea compatible el hecho de que estés en medicina o que estés en ciencia y que a la vez seas una persona tan creyente en Dios. O sea, que por eso yo creo que me llama mucho la atención lo que dices. Me encanta, pero y creo que le llamará la atención a muchas personas. Cuéntanos un poquito de eso. This is amazing, but at the same time, I mean, we are listening to a doctor, and many people think that science and religion, or science and God, they're in a how you say curfew. They're in a fight. They don't.
Science and faith.
Yeah, they don't go together. How is that you reconciliate those two, being a woman of science and a woman of God?
Great question. again, I give credit to God and everything. So I remember the day that I was in medical school, and the very first day that we went into the cadaver lab, which is seeing the corpses basically, that we were going to start our anatomy class. And I went to a Catholic medical school. So before we started our anatomy class, we prayed. We prayed for all the people and souls that donated their bodies to science so that we could learn how to take care of people better. And I remember during that time, as you know, the bodies were opened and really every aspect of me learning about science and the human body, I remember just in everything being in complete awe about the fact that this was God's design, that this was such a beautifully designed, body that only somebody of supreme intelligence and ability, and the fact that it could all work together, it just couldn't have been human made. So I've always felt, for me personally, that studying the human body is like studying a piece of art of your favorite artist, that you're seeing a glimpse of who that person is by their design. And so that has always been my perspective. And then understanding science and to be able to understand and learn and treat, and then moving that to the human person and be able to walk into a 90-year-old person's room and be able to offer them a treatment that makes their life better and makes them healthier and happier. Like, there isn't anything better than this. So I guess I'm in the right profession. But I've always seen God throughout it all. That science is awesome, but it can only be fully appreciated in the context that it was created by a larger being.
Muy bello. Muchas gracias por esa respuesta. Do you mind? I cannot let this go. But I don't know you feel okay with the question I'm gonna ask. Can I ask you your thoughts about abortion? Espectacular la respuesta que nos das. Y qué pena, pero no puedo dejar de hacer esta pregunta porque es de verdad que estoy muy emocionado de escuchar una mujer de ciencia, una doctora, una médica, que a la vez tiene tanta pasión por Dios y es una mujer de fe.
Y empresaria.
Y empresaria además. Ahora, ¿cuál es tu pensamiento, cuál es tu opinión con respecto al aborto y en qué momento empieza la vida? Como mujer de ciencia, danos tu opinión, por favor. So, it is pretty amazing for me to make this question, and I cannot let it go. As a woman of science, what do you think about abortion, and at what moment life begins?
Yes, I believe that life begins at the moment of conception. And I believe that God is sovereign and he has complete and utter control over life. And even as scientists and doctors, we may be able to understand some of life and science and health and life and death. But the determination of when life begins and the pure value of life is not in our domain. That even doctors have limits, and we need to respect and be in complete awe of a God who allowed us to really partake in a small portion of his wisdom and his knowledge.
Thank you so much for that answer. Muchísimas gracias, Mary Beth, por esa respuesta.
Pasamos a la sección de
Sí, ¿cuál es?
propósito. ¿Cuál es el propósito de Paragon Clinical? What's Paragon Clinical's purpose?
Our purpose is to provide excellent clinical care for these elderly and vulnerable people in nursing homes. And in the context that we can provide that for people, the context is that we want to provide a caring environment for our employees, our customers, our vendors, and everyone we come in contact with.
Now, you mentioned...
That's the higher purpose.
Exacto.
Hazla de nuevo.
Sí. ¿Cuál es el propósito superior? You mentioned a higher purpose at the beginning.
Yes.
What's the higher?
The higher purpose is to glorify God by promoting the dignity of the human person. And we
Y eso
do this
abarca,
by providing
right.
excellent medical care and love for the people that we come in contact with.
Entonces, esto abarca no solo a los colaboradores, sino a los pacientes, que son los clientes de los clientes. So this not only takes care of your employees, but also the patients who end up being the customers of your customers. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Right. So we believe if we love our employees and care for our employees, that gift will translate into their ability to give love and care to the patients they take care of, and even our customers, the staff in the nursing home, the administrators, the director of nursing, everyone in this entire environment needs love and support. Sometimes we actually see that we have to reach out more for our customers. Yes, the patients, absolutely, but our customers need support too, especially in this time of COVID. We have not thought twice about buying lunches for staff at multiple nursing homes when we see them with 30% of staff there helping these patients who are dying. I'm talking about the COVID crisis now, but we've not thought twice about reaching out to them and giving them pizzas and lunches and however else we can help everyone really in our midst. And the appreciation is that they give us back is mind-boggling.
Pues yo tengo que reconocer que este episodio para mí esta conversación que estamos teniendo es muy emocionante, porque mi hija, que quiere ser doctora, a la vez neurocirujana de su sueño, a la vez está muy cerca de Dios, y muchas veces sé que pueden pensar en cómo van a reconciliar esas dos partes, su parte espiritual y su parte profesional. Obviamente tienen un componente familiar que es complicado al ser doctores, y yo quiero aprovechar para pedirte, primero que todo, para dedicarle a ella este episodio con mucho amor, porque sé que a ella y a todas las personas que quieren seguir este sueño de ser doctores, pero sin dejar de lado su fe y mantener siempre una fe fuerte, y además ser empresaria, como hablamos ahora. Me gustaría, pues le dedico esto, me gustaría dedicar este episodio, pero también pedirte que les des un consejo a estas personas de cómo poder lograr ese balance y poder lograr mantener su vida espiritual, su vida fuerte, con su amor a Dios, pero también en ser exitosos profesionalmente como médicos y como empresarios. Mary, this is very, very, I say that, very exciting for me, this conversation, because I have a daughter, and her dream is to become a neurosurgeon, and she's very close to God. So I know there is a lot of people that may be in the same situation. They're trying to reconcile how is that going to be a good doctor, and at the same time I can become a man or a woman of faith. And on top of that, you are an entrepreneur. You are a business owner. Do you mind giving them a good piece of advice how they can accomplish this in their lives?
Yes, stay close to God. Stay close to God in everything. I think what I've learned through all the years, especially most recently, is that the degree that we can work for God on this earth and promote his values and who he is the degree to which we are unified and close with him. I have found even more so recently that the more I'm connected with God in prayer and time alone and consistency is the degree that he will work through me and allow me to do his will. Me getting into medical school, I applied to one medical school. My son is now applying to 25, 30 medical schools. 17,000 people apply for 170 spots. I applied to one medical school, a good medical school, and I got in. That has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with God. So if you stay close to God in prayer and in your relationship with him, he will never, ever fail you, and he will guide you and he will be with you through all the challenges of medicine on every level. You can trust in that, and you can trust in him. That would be my advice.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Muchas gracias, de verdad, Mary Beth. No sé si quieres que ya vamos cerrando.
Una pregunta adicional es, ¿qué le dirías a la gente sobre His Way at Work? La gente que está pensando o considerando traer o reconocer la presencia de Dios en sus empresas y que están ambivalentes. What would you tell people, business leaders, who are on the fence about recognizing God in their companies or inviting God to their companies? What would you tell them? What piece of advice would you give them to push them in the right direction?
I would tell them to, courage comes to mind, and be not afraid. I think that was Pope John Paul who talked about that quite a bit. But I think what we've learned through our association with His Way at Work, as I said, because of the support that His Way at Work has given us, and the direction and the hand holding, I think that allowed us to have courage to be bold for Christ in the workplace. We went ahead and hired the corporate chaplain. We put God on my business card. We pray before our meetings. And I've never, to this point, had one employee quit because we talk about God. Everything is invitation, but we have Bible study. We pray before meetings. We talk about God freely. I recently sent an email to my employees to have a moment of prayer within our company for Ukraine. And I had no hesitation to do this. I wouldn't have felt this way and even thought of such a thing 20 years ago. So I think be bold, be courageous, and trust. God will never not show up for you if you show up for him. And I think His Way at Work has been instrumental in helping us get to this point.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Armando,
Pues estamos listos para el resumen.
Adelante.
Lo que hemos aprendido de Mary Beth Sutkowski el día de hoy es que los valores de las empresas, al menos en el caso de ella, son la roca, la piedra angular. Y en el caso de Paragon Clinical, fueron sus valores la piedra angular para despegar la empresa, específicamente honestidad e integridad. Estos valores generaron confianza en sus clientes y en las entrevistas de contratación preguntaban sobre los valores y cómo se vivirían los valores. Para mejorar la contratación dedican cada vez más tiempo, ahora ya un día completo, a contratar y evaluar, y hacen más evaluaciones frecuentes al principio del trabajo, evalúan más frecuentemente a los empleados nuevos. Cuando se hace necesario un despido, se hace con dignidad, lo que significa es que se le hacen suficientes avisos, se le trata de hacer mentoría, y si aún así los resultados no están ahí, se habla con el colaborador y se le dice que no hay un fit, de una manera muy respetuosa, con mucha dignidad, para no herir su autoestima. Finalmente preguntaba también Julio sobre ciencia y fe, y nos contesta Mary Beth que ciencia y fe solo puede ser apreciada en el contexto de que Dios es el creador de todas las cosas. No sé si se me esté pasando algo, Julio, que consideres importante.
Pues el gran mensaje de que seamos be bold, en español.
Ser valientes.
Seamos, ¿cómo se dice? Bold es más, como ser más...
asertivos, ser valientes y asertivos.
No, bold, siempre se me va esa traducción, pero es como ser muy fuerte, o sea, tener mucho coraje. Uh-huh. Y tener una gran decisión, por decirlo así, para reconocer a Dios y para hablar de Dios y para comunicar a Dios y a Jesucristo ante todos y en cualquier situación, y mucho más en nuestras compañías. Creo que es un bello mensaje.
Y también nos dice Mary Beth que eso nunca le ha costado un colaborador, que siempre han sido muy respetuosos de todas las religiones dentro de la empresa y que abiertamente invitan a la gente a rezar. En otras palabras, be bold, ser valiente y vivir nuestra fe dentro de la empresa con respeto, y que Dios siempre se encarga de que nos vaya bien.
Así es. Mary Beth, una vez más, muchísimas gracias por estar el día de hoy con nosotros. Fue un placer tenerte. Sé que nuestra audiencia va a disfrutar muchísimo esta conversación. Bendiciones, gracias por estar acá. Y bueno, un saludo a todos y que nos sigan escuchando.
Well, Mary Beth, this has been a blast. The first time we didn't think about interviewing you because of anything else other than being his way at work, being a business leader, and being a woman. But the difficulty was that we were going to be going out of our way in doing it in English for our audience. But we are so happy that we did it. Your perspective brings freshness to what we have been doing, and there are so many angles to what you've been talking to us about that we're very thankful and very blessed to be again with you. Thank you so much. Mary Beth, pues te agradecemos mucho. Eres la primera entrevista que hacemos en inglés y no teníamos planeado entrevistar en inglés, pero el hecho de que eres empresaria, que eres mujer, que estás en la industria de la salud, pues nos empujó un poco a aventurarnos a hacer la entrevista en inglés, y hemos quedado extasiados y muy agradecidos por todos los ángulos que traes a este podcast. Muchas gracias, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
So
this
much.
has really been an honor.
So,
I love promoting God.
This is amazing, Mary Beth. I'm excited for many. ¿Falta algo? Okay.
Bueno, nomás despedirnos de todo, agradecerles de verdad por habernos acompañado el día de hoy de nuevo. Por favor, sigan escuchándonos, sigan ayudándonos a promover este movimiento de reconocer y a atraer a Dios a nuestras compañías. Por favor, si les gusta este material, síganos, denle like, compártanlo y ayúdenos a crecer este gran movimiento de reconocer a Dios en las empresas. Bendición a todos.
Si les gustó esta historia, no olviden darle me gusta y compartirla con amigos y familia. Empresarios con Propósito es un podcast producido por Julio Bayona y Armando del Bosque. Nos pueden escuchar cada martes en su reproductor de podcast favorito. Gracias por